values. Also, there's weakness in the Chicago soy complex as well as European rapeseed. Meanwhile, there are gains in Malaysian palm oil. A stronger Canadian dollar is adding to the declines in canola. The loonie is at 79.92 US cents compared to Thursday's close of 79.61. Tight supplies and strong demand will continue to underpin canola values and are tempering further losses. The Canadian Grain Commission reports canola exports are up 6% for the week ending March 7th at more than 254,000 tons. Domestic usage is up 6.3% at nearly 207,000 tons. However, the Grain Commission says producer deliveries of canola for the week are down 7.3% at just over 431,000 tons. Coming on the heels of reductions by the Rosario Grain Exchange, the Buenos Aires Grain Exchange is cutting its call on Argentina soybean production by 2 million tons at 44 million, and the BAGE is reducing its forecast of Argentina's corn crop by 1 million tons at 45 million. With a system moving into the United States northern plains set to drop up to 5 inches of snow, Colorado and parts of Nebraska could get as much as a foot. The same system is to bring rain to the central plains. Another system is raining on the southern plains. Rounding off prices at the Chicago Board of Trade, soybean futures are weaker on Friday morning. The May soybean contract is down 20.5 cents at $13.93 per bushel. May soy oil is down about 1/10 of a cent at 54.52 US cents per pound. May soy meal is down $8.40 at $3.9640 per hundredweight. Corn futures are lower on Friday morning, with the May contract down 4 cents at $5.34 per bushel. Chicago oats are steady to lower, with the May contract down 2.5 cents at $3.82.5 per bushel. Wheat futures are mixed on Friday morning. Chicago May is down 3 cents at $6.39.5. Kansas City May is unchanged at $6.04, and Minneapolis May is up 2 cents at $6.36. It's that time to spring forward with the start of daylight savings time on Sunday, March 14th. For most of North America, turn your clocks forward 1 hour, except in Saskatchewan and Arizona. That's a look at the ICE futures and the Chicago markets for Friday morning, March 12th. For Markets Farm in Winnipeg, I'm Glenn Halleck.
New Holland Dealer Days are back. Butler Farm Equipment in Fort St. John is here to help you tackle the season ahead. Special preseason savings are available, featuring 0% financing and cashback offers on select New Holland hay tools, tractors, and material handling equipment. Thinking about trading in? New Holland Dealer Days is the time. Stop by Butler Farm Equipment in Fort St. John today to learn all about the preseason savings going on.
For commercial use only, customer participation subject to credit qualification and CNH Industrial Capital Canada Limited approval. Standard terms, conditions, and other restrictions apply. A down payment may be required.
The opinions expressed during this show do not represent those of this station. If you've missed any of this show, you can follow the podcast at energeticcity.ca. Now, an in-depth look at the news and information shaping our community. This is Moose Talks with your host, Doug Craig, on Moose FM.
Good morning. Welcome to another episode of the show. A little later on, we're hoping to be joined by Fort St. John Mayor Lori Ackerman. We got a few things to discuss from Council this week, including their decision not to spend money on putting in a refrigeration unit, a refrigerated ice surface, I should say, in Kin Park, and also a bit on cemeteries development and the Passive House sale that's going to be happening. So we'll be talking to her in about 10 or so minutes time. But first, the Fort St. John Public Library has a brand new director of library services. He's coming to us from Weyburn, Saskatchewan, and he joins us now from, I believe, his office in the Fort St. John Public Library. It's Matthew Rankin. Welcome to the show, Matthew. Thanks for your time today.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
I'm grateful you made a few minutes for us. So why don't you start by telling us a bit about yourself? How did you come to be here in Fort St. John directing the library?
Well, it's a very long and arduous process. I hiked all the way out from Ontario. Originally I'm from the central Ontario region, so around Georgian Bay. My hometown is Penetanguishene, Ontario. Grew up there, Really loved it. Went to school in Waterloo, Ontario at Wilfrid Laurier. Went to London to do my master's degree in librarianship at the University of Western Ontario. Basically worked my way up in libraries, started as a technology assistant, became a clerk, became a part-time manager, CEO. Then I was library branch manager in Saskatchewan, which was an adventure. I love my time there. And if any of your audience want to go to Weyburn, I highly suggest it. And then this opportunity came up here in Fort St. John, and I was drawn here largely because of the reputation of the city and the great work that my predecessor, Carleen Duncan, did.
Wow. Had you heard much about, you mentioned her work, like kind of the library and its place in this community before you came here?
Yeah, I did a little bit of research when I was applying. Once I learned about the library and just about like the efforts she had to, update library services, the amount of programming, the style of the programming. Morgan and the rest of our staff, Morgan Churchill, our programmer, has done a great job managing our programming and the slick look of our, particularly our STEAM programs. And just how important it seems to be to the community. And also, one of the draws was how young the community was. That was a main interest for me. And there seems to be a lot going on, a lot of enthusiasm. Everyone's been wonderful since I've gotten here. So I'm thankful for my choice.
Is sort of the demographic much different than from Weyburn, Saskatchewan? Like the people you're expecting to see in the library, you mentioned we're a young community, so lots of families use it. Is that a lot different than Weyburn for you?
In terms of the patron base that was using the library, like we had a lot of young families as well, but a lot of the communities I've worked in have been a bit older, which have also been great because we've done a lot of fantastic seniors programming when I was in Weyburn, and we were able to sort of develop the programming a bit further. But it's a little bit different just because the patrons overall seem to be a little bit younger, but we still have a great patron base, and we want to do more for them going forward.
In layman's terms, if possible, I mean, what is your role as the director of library services? What's kind of the meat of what it is you're going to be doing, or have already begun to do, I should say, at the library?
Yep. So my job overall is to act as a community representative for the library. I am the secretary for the board, so I do all the administrative work in the background, taking minutes. I'm in charge of the budget, overall in charge of staffing, in terms of planning the direction for the library. And I'm supported very well in this role. I have an awesome staff under me, particularly my manager, Marilyn Lovejoy. I can't praise her enough. She does an amazing job. And our front desk staff, they do an amazing job.
Now, I'm glad you brought up the budget because this library, and I assume you knew this kind of coming in, seems to be in some financial trouble, at least. They've asked the city for a grant already this year to kind of cover expenses. They've been running deficits for several years. Is this something you've had experience with managing through before? A library that is an integral part of the community, but it seems to be having problem staying in budget in order to provide those services that we all depend on.
Yeah, I mean, it's an aspect of all libraries. I've worked in libraries that have been in similar situations, in really great financial circumstances. So my goal in this role is to make sure that we have stability going forward, to make sure that our staff is taken care of, and that we bring more to the community going forward. So we're able to bring in funds to do projects, to make sure that we're able to, once obviously COVID ends, going out into the community, having more connections, being more visible in the community. So obviously there'll be fundraising efforts this year. I'm only in my third week at this point, so obviously we'll be working on plans for that going forward. So stay tuned. But yeah, we're we're working on it, and we appreciate the support that we've gotten, particularly from the city. They have been amazing. And going forward, we'll do our best.
Can we expect to see a lot of changes at the library since there's been a change in leadership and at a time when the pandemic is the end is closer than the beginning at this point, when, as you mentioned, you can fundraise again, you can sort of bring more normalcy to the library than we've seen in the past year. Are things going to change a lot for people who maybe been using the library for some time?
In the short term, I'm not planning any massive changes because I want to get to know the community, the library, and my staff. And then, eventually, doing plans to make the space more usable. I'm really big on technology, so we're looking at a couple of grants right now to see if we can get a little bit more technology into the library space, developing new programming. So I like to do my research first, and I don't like to just rush into a situation and change everything. I like to make sure that I understand what the community needs, and getting ideas from my staff and from the community about what we can do going forward.
I mean, as you mentioned, you've only really been in the role for about 3 weeks now. So, I mean, do you have an overarching sort of philosophical vision, maybe if not for this library specifically, but a library in general? What do you hope you can accomplish in your tenure as the Director of Library Services?
I have sort of a vague quote I can give you. I'd like to see it more stable and in a better spot than whenever in the distant future, if I leave the position, that I left it in a better spot than as I found it. So obviously, updating our space, having more connections in the community, being more visible, as I've said, technology, making sure that we're keeping up with current trends. Libraries in general, there's a lot of discussion going on right now about what our ongoing role is. We're still, I believe, very important to the community. So there's this idea of the community hub. So sort of the collection, so the books and DVDs and other items are still important, but services become even more critical. Providing programming, being a place where people can come to use computers to get technology training, to use the space, to feel a connection to the community. So I hope to integrate that going forward as well.
I like that you mentioned a community hub because I note this library is closed 2 days of the week, I should say. Is that something that you might look into? Is that something that maybe you see as perhaps a weakness of this library, that, as you say, it's a community hub, but that's only really open 5 days a week? Perhaps expanding hours so that you can be open 6 or even every day of the week, at least for a bit. Is that something that would be of interest to you in seeing if you can accomplish?
I definitely would be something that I'd be interested in. Obviously, I still need to get familiar with my role and staff. But in terms of services, being closed 2 days a week can present challenges for us. It would be something I'd be interested in, but with the current financial situation and me being fairly new, I think it's something that I'll consider farther down the line.
Excellent, Matthew. Well, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to chat with us, especially since you're so new to the role. I look forward to seeing you around town, Matthew. Thanks for doing this today.
You're welcome.
All right, that's Matthew Rankin, the brand new Director of Library Services over at the Fort St. John Public Library. We're going to chat with Mayor Lori Ackerman right after this on Moose Talks.
So the pandemic has made you realize that you need a new home. Now you hear about production delays, supplier shortages, out of stock. Will it ever end? Well, yes! Jandel Homes has you covered with 27 heated show homes ready to view. Come find your perfect match. We have homes ready for immediate delivery, and we're still taking custom orders. But don't delay, because once they're gone, well, I guess we'll also be out of stock. But not quite yet. Come get your new Jandel home today.
Right now, Panago has 3 new crave-worthy pizzas featuring delicious artichokes. Try them on the Caprico's. Wait, how do you say this?
Capricciosa. It's capricciosa.
Oh, thank you. This meaty classic comes loaded with pepperoni, Genoa salami.
No, it's Genoa. Emphasis on the J.
Okay, gotcha. Genoa salami, olives, mushrooms, and gooey mozzarella. Try the new Capricciosa pizza. How's that?
Perfetto.
Just $17 for a medium.
Magnifico.
Order yours at
Panago.com.
At DGS Astro Paving, we work with industrial and commercial clients along with municipalities and provincial and federal governments to build roads that are durable and efficient. Hi, I'm Tim Rankin of DGS Astro Paving, and we want to make safe and long-lasting roads to connect Fort St. John and other communities throughout northeastern BC. We have the equipment and the experience to build roads in a variety of terrain and environments. To learn more about DGS Astro Paving and what we do, visit terraceconstruction.ca.
For over 40 years, M&M Food Market has been helping Canadian families, just like yours, put delicious meals on the table. Now it's your turn. If you're looking for a business opportunity right here in Fort St. John, M&M Food Market might be perfect for you. M&M is an essential service that has not been affected by the economic hardships felt by numerous small businesses in Canada, and they offer one of the best franchise packages around. To learn more, visit M&M Food Market at the north end of the Totem Mall.
Driving, staying warm, working outdoors.
Things that are more challenging in winter.
Okay, UTV rentals, two-way radio, cell boosters.
Things you can get at TNT Communications.
In the winter months, everything can be a little more challenging. While TNT Communications can't change the weather, they can help you be prepared out there with UTV rentals, two-way radios, communication towers, and even cell boosters for your truck, house, or work site. TNT Communications in Fort St. John, your Bell source in the Peace.
Watch this show live on Facebook or download the podcast at energeticcity.ca.
Well, we're hoping to be joined by Mayor Ackerman. We're just having a few technical difficulties, so we're going to take another quick commercial break, and we'll talk to her right after this on Moose Talks.
The North Peace Leisure Pool has a variety of activities and programs happening throughout the year. This month, there's plenty happening at the pool for the whole family. Here's what's coming up.
Rescuing a person from ice is dangerous. The safest way to perform a rescue is from shore. Call for help. Then if you can reach, lie down and extend a pole or branch and have them kick while you pull them out.
For the full schedule of programs and activities at the North Peace Leisure Pool, visit the city's website at fortstjohn.ca.
Stay and win in Grand Prairie. $10,000 up for grabs. Now through April, stay at one of Grand Prairie's preferred hotels for a chance to win the spring giveaway. First place, $5,000 cash. Second, $3,000. Third place, $2,000. Entry details at gprda.com.
Spring into action. Shop, play, and stay at the Sandman Hotel, downtown Grand Prairie. Offering dining options like Denny's and the Bar One Lounge. Ask for our spring promotion. Call 780-513-5555.
If you're looking for hassle-free internet services, call the Peace Region Internet Society today. With coverage throughout most of the Peace, PRIS can get you connected quickly without the hassle of contracts or bundles. Visit PRIS.ca or call 1-800-768-3311 for more information.
Hi, this is Ted with PIMS Production Equipment. Talk to us at PIMS for electrical work, air compressors, pumps, valves, relief valves, office phones, and computer networks. Experience the best in service. Check us out at pims.ca or call PIMS at 250-787-0808.
Our community first. This is Moose Talks with Dub Craig on Moose FM.
All right. Well, now, very happy to say we're joined by the mayor of Fort St. John, Lori Ackerman. Lori, thanks for coming on Moose Talks today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Dub. It's great to hear you.
It's very great to hear you too. So why don't we just dig right in? Lots happened at council this past week. Pardon me, I'm looking at the wrong picture here, or rather wrong paper here. To start off, council voted down the prospect of a refrigerated ice surface or surfaces over at Kin Park this past Monday. Can you kind of take us a bit through the debate that was had about this, or was there really any debate at all?
So when when staff came to us with, the kind of draft final plan for Kin Park, there was the option of, looking at refrigerating some surfaces. Well, we've been in communities, Ottawa, Toronto, places like that, where they do have some refrigerated ice surfaces. Well, they aren't north of the 56th parallel either. So we said to staff, really, it's the shoulder seasons, but what does the cost look like? Because there's a cost of, putting it in, but also operating it. What kind of life is it going to have? That kind of stuff. So we were tossing that around. We were really tossing it around based on no information. And so we said to staff, can you bring us that information? And so staff brought us that information. And, when we looked at it, we might be able to extend ice surface for a couple of weeks either side on the shoulder seasons. Looking at the cost of putting that in, more so the cost of maintaining it, because the cost of putting it in would be on our capital budget, which is not impacted by tax dollars. But what is impacted by tax dollars is the operation of that and the maintenance of it. And so for us, yes, we are a winter city. Yes, we absolutely enjoy getting out there with our skates on. The simple reality is when you live in a winter city and you have to make ice, that's a little sad. So we just decided that, it's this time of year when people really would be using that, and most people really just want to pull out their flip-flops.
Yeah, I think your quote, if you don't mind me quoting you here, is "I'll be damned if I'm going to pay for ice," which makes sense because, as you said, they're much further south than us. But had the cost been something that you could say, okay, maybe we can afford this? I mean, would that have been something to consider, or was it just kind of, in the end, you kind of thought, this isn't that great of an idea, let's be honest?
It would have had to have been a whole lot cheaper than what was presented to us in order to move forward. We have significantly longer winters than a lot of our colleagues across Canada. And I think that we need to be outdoors and active 365. And so the minute that we can take those ice surfaces in the wintertime and turn them into pickleball or basketball in the spring and in the summertime, then we should do that.
Okay. I want to talk a bit about the Woodlawn Cemetery expansion. Now, you guys voted to add reinforced concrete runners this past week. Can you explain a bit about what's that going to do for the cemetery?
Well, it really is there for the placement of the memorials, right? And so the maintenance in the long run is going to be much easier to look after. And they're going to be on a single concrete runner. And it just, if you've been to cemeteries that have these in place, it just looks that much tidier and neater. It's you don't have perhaps memorials that are put in place on a on a day where the where it's wetter, and some of them you see they're sinking or they're tipping or whatever the case may be. And so these concrete runners are just going to really help with that.
Why is this kind of an important redevelopment project in the first place? Taking a look at the cemetery, was it just way overdue, or is this kind of looking for the future to ensure that there's a well-designed and well-maintained cemetery at Fort St. John for generations to come?
So we're actually running out of plots. So this is an expansion. And so we're expanding Woodlawn, and if anyone is familiar with it, there's 2 gates that you can drive into, and the north of the north gate is the area that is being developed. There's a lot of different ways of internment now that people are looking for, like the green burial where there's no embalming. In fact, there may not even be, there isn't a coffin. It's, there may be something, a box or cardboard, but at any rate, there's different expectations that the municipality needs to provide. And so this is a complete expansion and really offering those new options.
And what's next for this? What's kind of the next phase that you guys are going to be talking about and discussing in council?
For the cemetery?
Yes, I apologize.
Yeah. So yeah, that's done. We've approved the cemetery expansion now.
Okay, perfect. Well, then why don't we move on to the passive house a bit? So this was built in 2015, I believe, or 2014. Just recently decided it was time to sell it and kind of move on from it. Why now? Why is this kind of the best time for that?
I actually thought about selling it about 5 years ago. But we had that fabulous partnership with UNBC's Community Development Institute to work on our social and economic development framework for the city of Fort St. John. And so they've been using it. So we actually kept it the additional 5 years in order for them to have a location that to work through. And so we now do not need it. The intention was from the beginning to create a showcase for a different way of construction. It not only was overwhelmingly received, we actually got BC Hydro through our community measures agreement to build the 50-unit building based on passive house standards as well. So I'll give you an example of the difference. This passive house doesn't even have a natural gas line to it. And my home is a little bit smaller, couple 100 square feet top bottom than this passive house. And we pay $1,500 a year for natural gas, give or take. This house doesn't have that. In fact, the first year that it was what we call the living lab, where we had people living in it, the heat source turned on twice. So significant savings in the heating of it. And then I was laying in bed last night listening to a vehicle driving up the road, and then burning some rubber to get onto the bypass road. And I was thinking, you know, if I was asleep in bed in the passive house, I would not hear that. It is, I don't know, Deb, if you've been in the passive house, if you've taken the opportunity to go take a peek at it. It is a totally different environment than an average home. Was the filtration system, just how quiet it is and how comfortable it is.
Was there any consideration, in this round, as you said, 5 years ago you thought about selling it, but this time as to what could we continue to use it for if we were going to keep it, or was it, nah, they're done with it, we're going to sell it now?
Yeah, we've looked at that every time we've considered it. The reality is it's in a residential area. And so we did a temporary use permit on it to allow the CDI to function out of it. But Dub, it's in a residential area, and we really need people to experience it. We need, it's not our core business, and we need to sell it. It's surplus, and we will use the policy that we have in place to put it on the market.
Okay. And one final discussion topic for you, Mayor Ackerman. The city launched this new app and web portal this week, which was wonderful news, called My City Hall. I was just curious how much City Council had, in how much say, I should say, you guys had in development and kind of pushing it forward.
So that's an operational issue, and so staff drove that. The only thing that council has said over the years is that we need our residents to be able to pay for things online. And so that's really what drove the bus. So this particular app allows for the residents to go or the businesses to go on and pay online for a lot of their fees and permits and etc. And we will continue to look for a comprehensive approach to pulling the apps together, because I know that people would like, one app. The reality is that, we needed something for people to have the ability to go online, and not everyone really is concerned about, when the road clearing is going to happen, or when the garbage pickup will be, because, you might be a commercial entity rather than a residential entity, and there's some things that you care about and some things that you don't care about. So we'll continue to search for best practices on those.
Do you know if this was kind of pushed through, might be the wrong term, but hurried up in light of COVID-19 and everyone kind of trying to find ways to make it safer for everybody to interact with, in and around the city, right? Like, saving people from having to come in to pay bills, for example.
Yeah, no, and I hear you. I don't think so, because we didn't, that wasn't the intent. I think the intent was that the city of Fort St. John has a significantly low average age. The age of our community are the ones that want to be online making these payments, right? And so I don't think that, while we were impacted by COVID, I don't think that it's something where we would actually change an operational issue related to COVID on a long-term basis. We had a lot of shifts and changes, as everyone else did, when it came to COVID, but I don't think that's one of them. For example, when we look long-term, we're looking at how to revitalize the downtown. As you know, we're working on that project. And just to give you a sneak glimpse into, what we're looking at with the Mayor's Standing Committee on Economic Recovery, there's an opportunity for a facade program for our downtown area. And so that facade program will help anybody that wants to increase their the look of their or update the look of their building downtown in that permitting area. And the committee would be making a recommendation to council that there would be a tax deferral on any lift in assessment as a result of that facade program. And I think that that's something that is a long-term shift that council would be involved in.
Wonderful. Well, Mayor Ackerman, I appreciate you finding a few minutes to talk to us about this and working with us through our technical issues. Thanks for joining us today.
You are very welcome. Have a fabulous weekend, everyone.
Absolutely. You too. That's Mayor Ackerman with the mayor of the city of Fort St. John. Well, that does it for this episode of Moose Talks. You can always watch this show again on the Moose FM and energeticcity.ca Facebook pages shortly after the show ends. You can also download the podcast version of this show over at energeticcity.ca/Moose Talks. Moose Talks is produced by Adam Rayburn and Trey Lopashinsky. I'm Dub Craig. Be well.
Join us next Friday at 10 a.m. for another episode of Moose Talks, a weekly talk show about Fort St. John and the North Peace.
Energetic